guys, how's it going? Today we are working on some flower bed cleanup around the chicken coop. We're expecting a high of 58 today. All of the temperatures for the next 10 days look amazing. Most of the lows are above freezing. We have a couple of nights like 29 and 30, 31, I think, right in there, which isn't too bad. And all the highs are in the mid to high 50s. It's just gonna be glorious. I love this time of year. We've got quite a lot to clean out around the coop, and hopefully, if we get all the clean out done, I'm hoping to mulch and possibly pot up the window box and around the topiaries, which this one's kind of leaning. So let me walk you through this area and explain what we need to do. We've got another beautiful sky today. Dang, our skies have just been so gorgeous. Hopefully that sun burns through though. I'd love some sunshine today. And here's the chicken coop. So we'll start on the north side. I'm kind of hoping to make it all the way around. We've got little lime hydrangeas here. I'm just gonna clean the spent blooms off of and rake this bed out. They're small, so I don't really wanna do much pruning. We've got a juniper, rather, I was gonna say spruce, but juniper topiary here. That's got a little bit of a lean going on. So it actually was facing this direction. It was leaning this way because our wind was hitting it and it was making it go that way. So we figured instead of staking it, we would just flip the pot around and make the wind push it back the other direction. I'm hoping that'll work. On the other side, we've got some daylilies. Going Bananas is the variety we need to just clean up. I'm hoping to plant this up, hoping to plant that up. Lavender to cut back, salvia to cut back. We've got a wild climbing rose called Zephyrin Druin. We did a more in-depth pruning video and how I'm training these climbing roses last year. We'll link it down below, but we need to clean that up. Sweet weeping blue spruce in here, just the sweetest little shrub. I love it. And we'll be able to see that a little better without all this wild growth around it. We've got 3 landscape roses, 1, 2, 3, called Oh So Easy Peachy Cream, I think is the name, but they've got some wildness going on we're gonna tame. This is a Miss Violet butterfly bush right there that we'll prune back a little bit. It's growing beautifully, but we get wonderful layering of color here because of the bright pink blooms, really beautiful saturated purple blooms, peach colored blooms, yellow blooms, and then usually I fill in with osteospermums, the bright lights like white or bright lights pink, and then some supertunias. We get lots of color in here. There is a flat artichoke. That one grew huge. It produced artichokes and it was a beautiful like textural element in this bed. I'm gonna cut it back. We'll see if it comes back or not, but it'll look really good to have it gone, at least the leaves. There are the chickens. Hey girls. Another juniper topiary here, and then we have some more lavender to cut back and another artichoke to clean up. Right here there are some, I'm trying to remember, Lady Gardener roses. We're gonna prune those up. We're going to cut back the alliums here. There's another buddleia. Oh my goodness, look at this rose. That Zephyrin is just going for it. I love it. I'm really hoping to kind of train it up and over a bit. Down below, Veronica to cut back. There's a winterberry holly. I think I'm just gonna quit trying to grow those. They do not do well here. I don't think they like our pH. This area I'm going to leave alone because we're gonna come in and move the pond stuff to a different location. And then this whole area, I've got it pretty much nailed down how we're going to design this garden here, and it's actually not going to affect the pallet walkway. I want to keep that, but it will make the pallet walkway redirect about right like here. Instead of coming out, we're actually going to be going out this way because this spot we're going to be doing stuff with. So we're going to be kind of thinking about removing these plants and moving them to a different location. So I'm just going to leave those alone other than these little annuals I'll clean out. Back here there's not a lot going on to clean up because we've already done a little bit of work. We do have some big hibiscus in here, Baptisia, Veronica, heucheras, which did not look like they wintered very well. We'll see. It's also a crabapple, some iris, and a couple more roses. So we've got a big rose there and one right here, and I am just noticing that the witch hazel is in bloom. It's starting to bloom, you guys. This is an Arnold's Promise, and it's gorgeous. Oh. So basically a lot of cutback and raking up today, hopefully making this area look nice and tidy to start the season. And these are my tools today. I've got some gloves, my Felcos, and a rake. Maybe a pop-up bag too. Okay, here we go. want to stop really quick. I haven't cleaned out much yet. I'm still right in front of the chicken coop, but these roses, they're kind of a beast, and I wasn't really sure how I wanted to go about training them this year until you get into projects sometimes and kind of get the flow of how it's going. You just don't know. So I wanted to stop and show you what I've done. This side, pretty straightforward, just removed the spent blooms, raked it up a bit. I started by cutting back perennials right in this area, and then just started removing canes. So the first thing I do is I cut any wild branches coming out toward me, except for, I think I left 2. So this one right here, this new cane, and this one right here, I left. And I just kind of let them hang out here until I decided whether or not I wanted to keep them. And that's kind of the best approach when you're training roses like this. You know, do your cleanup, remove all the leaves, remove any obvious, like anything broken or dead, remove any of the really fine, weak growth at the bottom, and then kind of assess the situation before you start clipping out canes. You know, in this situation here, zephyrines, they grow quite long. I want to say like 15 to 20 feet. I think 20 feet is what the tag said. Anyway, so my hope is to eventually train them up kind of over this window, you know, down the front of the run there to add color and to add a little bit of shade for the chickens. So anyway, we added some of these eye hooks, I think that's what they're called, eye screws, and some metal cable last year in kind of a grid. So there's one here, and one down here. So 3 that run horizontally, and there are 2 that run vertically right here, which gives me a nice area to tie off canes in the way I want them to go. And I'm kind of shooting for not straight up growth on everything. You eventually want to train your canes over because they produce new growth up and will bloom on all that new growth. And it's kind of a fun thing to kind of create the shape that you want. And every year, I mean, it's not something permanent either. It's not something to stress about. You can cut things out that don't end up working out. And I would rather err on leaving just a little bit too much, but it was really important. We deal with spider mites on roses here. It's important to really clean up all the debris, clean off all the old leaves. Yeah, just make the plant healthy. We are actually going to be fertilizing today too. I forgot to mention that. Another huge help are these. So these are low volt staples right here. They're just like this little white clip with a little nail. And then these rubber coated wire plant twist ties that I cut in half. So you can see one right here. I just slip the twist tie underneath, I attach it. It actually pinches it once you hammer it in all the way. It pinches it pretty good. I leave a little bit of a tail so I can kind of train it over. And then you can just put your cane exactly where you want it. And these come in black too, so it kind of depends on what siding and stuff. The white ones work nicely. I mean, you can see the green twist tie, but not for long once leaves start to emerge. But I've got them kind of everywhere here. And then you can see right around the base of the plant that most of the cleanup is done. I am going to come along with a blower so I can blow all of the dust and junk off of the side of the coop, which will then blow the rest of these leaves away. And this is kind of where I left off. You can also see that we still have the plexi on the inside of the coop. We put that plexi in there basically for my benefit. It makes me feel better. I know chickens are tough and they don't need it, but we get some pretty fierce winds that come from the west mostly. And so the plexi on the interior keeps it nice and a little bit warmer and protected, I guess, during the winter months. So we're going to be taking that off probably this week, and then it will release all the trapped leaves. All these leaves that are trapped between the wire mesh and the plexi. So we'll be able to clean all of that out like this right here once the plexi has been removed. There we go. I also started in a bit on this buddleia right here. You can see I took it down quite far. On these bigger butterfly bushes, it is important to prune them. You want to basically follow the branch down. Let me get closer. You want to follow your branch down, find a nice set of leaves and cut it right above the first set of really strong leaves. And that might differ from year to year. But if you don't do that, you'll end up with blooms way up here if you don't prune and nothing down below where you can really see them. They call that a second story plant, the type that if you don't prune it, you can only see the blooms if you're looking out a second story window. And we don't want that here. We want to keep it a nice manageable size and keep blooms down where we can see them at eye level at least. And it grows big. Like I pruned this butterfly bush the same way last year and you saw how big it was just now. Okay, I'm going to continue the cleanup and I'm going to continue on with the same sort of rose training on the other 3. guys, wanted to stop again real quick just to give you a close-up look at these roses. Very different before and after. And these are English roses, like I said, they're Lady Gardeners, a variety. They're different typically than the landscape roses like I just trimmed in front of the coop. In fact, those type you typically don't have to prune at all except for anything dead or damaged. I only pruned them this year to size and shape control them because they've gotten a little bit wild. These I approach the same way every year. And the goal is to remove all of the spent leaves from last year, to remove some of the branches from last year, and just create a nice open framework so that there's no competition going on. There are two finished right here. Typically I take them down right above my knee in height, and then I remove anything that's weak or spindly. I remove anything that's crisscrossing or competing for air and light and growth space. So you can see like in here, the center of the plant for the most part is pretty open, and every single cane that I have left has plenty of room to grow and not get in the way of anything else. Even when these two meet right here, so you've got a cane that belongs to the rose bush on the right, but there's nothing in this second rose on the left that's going to compete with that later on. So it's one that I could take out, but you know, you can do that later on too. And when I make my cuts, they're straight, not slanted, because I've talked to growers of roses and they say that when you do slanted cuts, it actually opens up more surface area for things to enter in the rose, bad things. So if you make straight cuts, it's less surface area that you've opened up. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference. I always used to cut them slanted and it didn't really hurt anything. I think what I'm gonna do is finish up this flower bed, you know, about to the post where the bird feeder is, and I will cut back the buddleia and train this climbing rose right here, which is a total, my goodness, it's happy. I mean, it's a total wreck, but it's happy. And then I want to do the mulching, fertilizing mulching, and then we'll do some planting, hopefully. I started this project a little late and we do have dinner plans. Things always take a little bit longer than you think, especially when you're training climbing roses. When you have to go get all your equipment out and the hammer and all of that stuff, and you kind of have to take your time, it always takes longer, so plan for it. Okay, well the cleanup is pretty much done. I made it to the back corner of the coop. So really the only thing I have left to do, and I'll show you, are the couple of roses on the back side. The only thing I'm gonna have time to do in addition to this cleanup is fertilizing what I just cleaned up. And then I'll have to come in probably tomorrow and do the mulching and planting, you know, the fun part, the fluff part. So let's take a look. We already talked about the rose. I'm really excited to see what kind of growth we get from that. I really want to start encouraging it this way, and then hopefully we get a long one that we can kind of start training up over the window. These landscape roses, I already kind of touched on that as well, but I cut those more like a normal rose rather than a landscape shrub type rose, just to kind of control what was going on. And then just a general cleanup. The artichoke I cut back, I don't think it's going to come back. It's pretty much like, I don't even want to touch it with my finger, like squishy. Look at this. What are you? Oh, hello, Russell. I thought you were coming in for the artichoke. You were coming in for the pets. Anyway, I don't think that that's going to do anything. The chickens have been entertained all day. And then right over on this side, we cut back the lavender. There's some more Nepeta, cat's pajamas in there. I had some Prairie Sun Rudbeckia, which I don't think is normally a perennial here, but it's got some promising green growth at the base. We'll see. There are a few of those in that area. Right across the walkway here, you can see this looks so much better and just clear, clean. Oh, I even got the pot like lifted up out of the mulch and leveled up a little bit more. And I stopped right here, right before the arbor. So I still need to address this crazy wisteria. We need to do some hard pruning on that. But on this side, got this rose all trained. In fact, I had enough, a long enough cane to come around the side here, so hopefully we'll have some blooms around the top of the door. The network of branches here is definitely more intense than the front one, but I think we're going to have a lot of color from this one. It's going to be really exciting. You can see I kind of do a swirly thing with my branches. I usually try to like bend them so that they're growing more horizontally at some point, because they will produce branches like this, which if they're strong enough, like on this branch, I just cut them back a little bit and left them I cut right above a bud right here, so that we'll get blooms, 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 all like that. And then here you can see the buds starting to swell. We may need to do some light pruning along the way just because of how many I left there, but it's kind of pretty. Did a pretty big prune job on this buddleia, about half. I would say maybe a little less than half of its canopy is gone. There's a Poly Petite Rose of Sharon. I did not prune any on that. I did prune some of this Winecraft Black Smoke Bush though. It had some wild arms like right here that would go way up, way above the rest of the shrub. So kind of took care of that, shaped it up a little bit. And this Snow Fountains cherry, I think I want to move it somewhere else or give it to somebody. To be honest, I am not a huge fan of this shape. I thought I would try it here to see what we thought. It's getting kind of this like wild, crazy growth on the top. I need to kind of take care of that as well. But I will do that when I pick up and take off down this way. And really the only thing I have left on this backside, like I said, are these roses. So look at these. Can you believe that's what the other ones look like before their prune job? They look so much better, all cleaned up. So I will do that another day here pretty soon. And then for fertilizing, you can see I have two bags out here. I have Rose Tone and Holly Tone. I'm only using Holly Tone on the blue spruce. I don't think I have anything else that I'm gonna toss that on. You know, if I was going to do a slow feed for the topiaries, I could put it in the pot, but since I'm putting annuals in it, and I always fertilize my annuals, I just usually don't put a slow release in there. One that's specific to evergreens anyway. And then the rest of everything is just going to be getting Rose Tone, because that's primarily, like, that's the large bulk of what I have in these flower beds. And then I'll just toss some of the Rose Tone around perennials while I'm at it. And you could use Plant Tone. That's a really great all-purpose on everything if that's what you have. There are instructions on the bag that tell you how much to give, like this Holly Tone. Established plants feed twice per year, spring and fall. 1 cup per foot of branch diameter. So that little blue spruce probably just needs like 1.5, maybe 2 cups. I usually don't measure, I just eyeball it, and I sprinkle it around the drip line of the plant. So for example, on this Rose of Sharon right here, the drip line means the circle that lies right below kind of the outer canopy of leaves. So if you were to follow the outer canopy of leaves and go around like this, you know, you go in a circle like that, not like right around the base of the shrub. It's a little bit further out. So I'm going to sprinkle it around the plants. I'll use my rake to kind of lightly rake it in. And then it really won't be watered in until we get rain or we turn our irrigation system on, which probably won't be too long, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's just nice that it's there, it's done, then we can move on to the next flower bed. So let's get the fertilizing done. All right guys, that is it for today's project. I'm really happy with what we got done here. We'll do the mulching and planting on a different day. I just totally forgot how long it really does take to prune and train your climbing roses. I mean, the leaf picking, like having to pick off all the leaves and clean up the canes, that really is a time-consuming part. It's really peaceful. It's a peaceful job. It's really satisfying to see that framework start to take shape, so it's totally worth taking the amount of time you need. But that means we have the 2 on the backside still yet to do as well, but we'll just do that on a different day. I need to not tackle pruning climbing roses on a day where we have dinner plans. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful. A whole bunch more where this came from. We have a lot more to do to get this garden ready for the season. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.